This is my video response to exposing Metal Bands Satanic Illuminati. I'm going to cover parts 1 and 2. First, I'd like to say that I'm not a Satanist. I've listened to metal since I was 12 years old. I've never gotten in trouble. Metal has never caused me to do drugs. I'm not rebellious. I'm also in a band. I'm a musician. I do vocals. We are a metal band. As you can see, Septic Flesh. Got Cradle of Filth, Chimera, Killing the Archetype, all metal bands. So I watched parts 1 and 2, and basically I'd like to talk about the misconceptions. The first thing in the first video is there's a little quote, or not a quote, but basically them saying that metal encourages drugs, causes people to become rebellious, sexually promiscuous, causes self-destruction, such as suicide. And I'd like to say that I don't know anyone who has tried to kill themselves or people from metal music. Sexually promiscuous, I mean, everyone has sex, it's just natural. Rebellion, again, I'm not rebellious. It's never caused me to be rebellious. I don't know anyone who's rebellious. Drugs, I've never done drugs. I've never thought about doing drugs. So I would have to disagree on that standpoint. But if there is some examples of somebody getting in trouble, somebody doing drugs, somebody committing suicide over music, I mean, I think that's just a radical. I think it's somebody who, you know, just because they're listening to that music doesn't mean that it caused them. It just means there's something deeper. I mean, if music caused them to do that, then obviously they were troubled before this music came to them. Because the whole Columbine thing was a huge misconception with Marilyn Manson. There's a misconception of lyrics that they posted. They talk about Whitechapel and Crown Effect, and satanic lyric themes, and supporting hell and stuff like this. I believe that lyrics of any kind, whether it's rap or country or metal, rock and roll, punk music, it's all stories, you know. I like to think of music as poetry, but written to a song. So when I write music for my band, I'll hear the music, and then I'll usually record it, and I'll listen to it, and then I'll think of something that comes to my head. I mean, I wrote about zombies, I wrote about the fear of leaving your home, I wrote about having a nightmare, overcoming personal obstacles, vampires, you know, my personal life when I was younger, getting beat up in school, stuff like that. I write about whatever comes to my head. So I think lyrics are stories, no matter how satanic or how often they talk about demons and hell and all that, they're just stories. Phil Bozeman of Whitechapel, who also was brought up in the video, he just writes stories. That's it. He said that in many interviews that he loves metal and the fact that you can write dark stories and people will enjoy them, because it's like any other kind of entertainment. When you watch a horror movie, do you think that you'll somehow become possessed from watching a demon on TV? No. When you read a book, does it cause you to become possessed because this book could have a demon in it? Or it's talking about hell? No. It's a book. Possession on stage, they showed a video of the drummer for Fit for an Autopsy drumming where he closed his eyes. And I just like to say that musicians do that. That's how they improve. When you see a guitarist, is he always looking at his instrument? No, he's not. He's bobbing his head, he's looking at the crowd, He's walking back and forth on stage. He's not looking at his instrument the whole time. Same thing with a drummer. It's muscle memory. As a drummer, you know where your snare, your floor tom, your ride, you know where everything is. So closing your eyes and drumming away, it's not that hard. I mean, I know I'm not a drummer, but I've seen it done. It's not that hard, I'm sure. I mean, so that's a misconception of possession. And they also quoted some musicians talking about a higher force grabbing them and feeling like they're a whole different person on stage, like there's another force. And that's just, that again is a misconception. You know, it's adrenaline, and that's what they're describing. They're describing the adrenaline they feel. It's so invigorating, feeling the crowd's energy, that you feel like a whole different person. Doesn't mean that a demon's controlling you and making you better at rock and roll or metal, like they said. Alright, metal hates religion. They were talking about these lyrics that promote hating on Christianity in particular, inverted crosses, etc. And my take on that is, let's take Slayer for example. They have some really harsh lyrics. They even have an album called God Hates Us All. I don't think that has anything to do, like, if somebody writes about hating on God, I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean they're hating on religion. Slayer has Christian members. So, I mean, it's like, again, it's just stories. They have a video of Veil of Maya's Unbreakable, where the lead singer's got a gadget on his head where it's mind control, and they talk about a lyric about, it promotes overcoming life's goals by yourself, and how that's promoting against religion because you need to rely on Jesus Christ. And again, I disagree with that. I'm not religious. I'm agnostic. Basically, that means I believe in a higher power. I just don't have a religion. But in my mind, God didn't create us to focus just on Him. He wants us to live our lives and have free will and overcome life's obstacles on our own accord. So believing in oneself is not necessarily a bad thing. If anything, it's good, and it just proves how wrong they were about metal. In part 2, they bring up a secret rich society and how all metal bands are rich and they secretly inherited all this money, and they're trying to control the population with their power and wealth. I completely disagree. Most metal bands that start out never have money, because metal is not a genre that has huge amounts of money like everyone thinks. Just because you play on the road and live the rock star life doesn't mean you're filthy rich. Bands start off as local bands and move to being signed bands if they have the talent and the potential, and then from there they work hard and vigorously to become, you know, the men they are, or the women they are, playing their music. You know, they're not necessarily born rich. It takes time, and that's how they get their money. And that's another misconception that not just that this video puts, but a lot of people have, is that all these metal bands are super rich. You know, they have to pay for lawyers, and you know their label takes a lot of this money, and you're splitting it 5 ways or more. You have to pay for the tour. So, you know, musicians are not rich. There was a devil horns misconception. These are the devil horns. They brought up Dio, and so this is where I'm going to go with this. The devil horns actually came into metal from Ronnie James Dio. His grandmother taught him this, and it's to ward off the evil eye. So it's not actually the devil horns. It just got turned into that, like many things do. You know, stories change, and you know, myths take on whole new twists and stuff. Same thing. Ward off the evil eye, turns into devil horns. You know. So to the video or the channel that posted this, I'd like to know where you got your credentials from and where you got your research from. So if you could get back to us and please inform us on how long you did your research and where you get your credentials talking about a genre, please explain. I and many people I'm sure would like to know. And if you're not familiar with metal, please don't believe everything you've read. It's a misconception, and people involved in the genre, whether they listen to it, they play it, always get bashed, not just from religious people, but people that enjoy other genres. It's always talked about how we're heavy and we're just noise and screaming and stuff like that. I completely disagree. I think that metal is a genre of pure talent. When you get 5 people in a room together, synchronizing a bass guitar and 2 electric guitars and drums, and then doing vocal patterns over this, it takes talent and it takes skill and it takes time to learn. I definitely, in my personal opinion, feel it's harder than rap music. Because again, you're working with 5 people as opposed to, you know, one rap artist and a beat in a recording studio. So I think that about covers it. One more thing, they never brought up Christian metal bands. They said all metal bands are satanic. But you know, Becoming the Archetype is a Christian metal band, and they never really explained that. So to say that all metal is satanic is just ignorant. But if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the box, and I'll get back to you, maybe with a video response or maybe a reply. Alright.